The cargo ship Horizon's Edge moved slowly through the darkness of space. It was an old ship, not very pretty to look at, but it worked well enough. The crew of 12 had been traveling for 3 weeks now, carrying supplies to a mining colony in the Kepler system. Danny Cole sat in the maintenance room, fixing a broken heating unit. He was 28 years old, with brown hair and tired eyes. He had joined this crew 2 years ago because he wanted to see the stars. Back on Earth, in his small town in Ohio, life had felt too small, too boring. He thought space would be different. It was different, but not in the way he had hoped. Mostly, he fixed things: pipes, wires, machines that broke down every other day. The stars were beautiful, yes, but he rarely had time to look at them. The ship's alarm suddenly filled the air with a loud sound. Danny dropped his tools and ran to the control room. The other crew members were already there, staring at the main screen. Captain Laura Bennett stood at the center, her face serious. She was a tall woman in her 40s, with short gray hair and sharp eyes. She had been flying ships for 20 years and had seen many strange things. But even she looked surprised now. "We have a distress signal," she said, "coming from that asteroid field ahead." On the screen, Danny could see a small ship floating among the rocks. It was damaged badly. Parts of its hull were torn open, and gas was leaking out into space. The ship was not human. Its design was unlike anything Danny had ever seen. It was smooth and curved, made of some kind of silver metal that seemed to glow faintly. "Alien vessel," said Rick Hayes, the ship's pilot. He was a nervous man who always expected the worst. "We should stay away. Could be a trap." "There are life signs," said Megan Porter, the communications officer. She looked at her screen with wide eyes. 7 of them. But they are fading fast. Captain Bennett made her decision quickly. "We are going to help them. Danny, Nate, get suited up. You are coming with me." Danny felt his heart beat faster as he put on his spacesuit. Nate Lawson, the ship's medic, was a calm man who never seemed worried about anything. He checked his medical bag twice and nodded at Danny. "First contact," Nate said with a small smile. "Never thought I would see the day." The 3 of them took a small shuttle across to the damaged alien ship. Up close, it looked even worse. The hull had been torn by some kind of weapon. This was not an accident. Someone had attacked this vessel. They entered through a hole in the side. The inside of the ship was dark, lit only by the weak lights on their helmets. The walls were covered with strange symbols that Danny did not understand. The air was thin but breathable. Captain Bennett led the way, her weapon ready. They found the first body in the corridor. It was an alien, tall and thin, with silver skin and closed eyes. Faint blue markings ran along its neck and arms. It was not moving. "Dead," Nate said after checking. "Probably for hours." They moved deeper into the ship. In what looked like the main chamber, they found the others. 6 aliens lay on the floor, unconscious but alive. Their silver skin was pale, and their breathing was shallow. They wore robes of different colors, some simple and some decorated with gold thread. One of them caught Danny's attention. She was a young female, smaller than the others, with long white hair spread around her head like a halo. She wore robes of deep purple threaded with gold, and even unconscious, she looked important. A piece of metal had gone through her chest. Violet blood pooled beneath her body. Danny knelt beside her. He could see that she was dying. Her breath came in short, weak gasps. The light in her markings was almost gone. "Can you help her?" Danny asked Nate. The medic shook his head slowly. "The wound is too deep. I do not even know her biology. She has minutes, maybe less." Captain Bennett was already calling for backup to carry the other survivors. But Danny could not take his eyes off the dying female. She was so young. She looked no older than 20, though who knew how aliens aged? It felt wrong to let her die alone, surrounded by strangers in the cold darkness of space. Without thinking, Danny reached out and placed his hand on her arm. Her skin was cool and smooth, like touching polished stone. He wanted her to know that someone was there, that she was not alone. "I am sorry," he whispered. "I wish I could help you." He meant the words with all his heart. He thought about his grandmother, who had died when he was 12. He remembered holding her hand in the hospital, wishing so badly that he could take her pain away. He had felt so helpless then. He felt helpless now. And then something impossible happened. A warm golden light began to glow from where his hand touched her skin. It was soft at first, like sunlight coming through a window. Then it grew brighter. The blue markings on her body suddenly flared to life, glowing with an intense light that filled the chamber. Danny tried to pull his hand away, but he could not move. The light was spreading from him into her, like water flowing downhill. He felt warmth rushing through his body, out through his palm, and into her. The piece of metal in her chest began to move. Slowly, it pushed itself out of her body and fell to the floor with a soft sound. The wound beneath it started to close. New flesh formed over the hole, smooth and perfect. Danny watched in shock as the color returned to her skin. Her breathing grew stronger. Her eyes moved beneath their lids. Then, suddenly, she opened her eyes. They were bright gold, like two small suns. She looked directly at Danny, and he felt as if she was seeing straight into his soul. The golden light faded. Danny stumbled backward and fell to the floor, his heart pounding in his chest. He looked at his hands. They looked normal. They felt normal. But what he had just done was not normal at all. What the hell was that? Captain Bennett said, her voice shaking. Nate was already checking the female. His face was white with shock. "The wound is gone. Completely healed." "That is not possible." The alien female sat up slowly. She looked around at the humans with confusion and wonder. Then she looked at Danny again and spoke in a language no one understood. Her voice was soft and musical, filled with emotion. Danny did not know what she was saying, but he could hear one thing clearly in her tone. She was thanking him. She was thanking him for saving her life, and Danny had no idea how he had done it. The Imperial warship was the largest thing Danny had ever seen. It came out of faster-than-light travel like a mountain appearing from fog. The horizon's edge was a small ship, maybe 100 meters long. The warship was 5 kilometers from end to end. It made the human vessel look like a toy. Captain Bennett ordered everyone to remain calm, but Danny could see the fear in her eyes. They were completely helpless. If the Valorians wanted to destroy them, there was nothing they could do about it. But the warship did not attack. Instead, a small shuttle came down from its belly and docked with the horizon's edge. The door opened, and a group of Valorian soldiers entered. They were tall and strong, wearing armor that seemed to be made of living metal. They carried weapons that hummed with energy. Behind them came a figure that made everyone stop and stare. He was an older Valorian male, with silver skin and a face that showed both age and power. His robes were pure white, threaded with gold and purple. A crown of silver light floated above his head, not touching it but staying in place through some technology Danny could not understand. Vorin immediately dropped to one knee. Princess Lyara did the same, though she smiled as she did it. "Father," she said. This was Emperor Kalen III. The Emperor walked past his guards and went straight to his daughter. He took her hands in his and looked at her face carefully, as if checking to make sure she was real. "When I received word of the attack, I feared the worst," he said. His voice was deep and calm, but Danny could hear the emotion beneath it. "They told me you were dying." "I was," Lyara said, "but I was saved." The Emperor turned and looked at the humans for the first time. His eyes moved across each of them, studying them like a scientist studying new creatures. When his gaze reached Danny, it stopped. "This is him?" the Emperor asked. "Yes, father. This is Danny Cole. He performed the Lumara." The Emperor walked toward Danny. The human crew stepped back nervously, but Danny forced himself to stay still. He was terrified, but he would not show it. The Emperor stopped right in front of him. Up close, Danny could see that his golden eyes were filled with intelligence and wisdom. This was a being who had ruled an empire for decades. He had seen wars and peace, birth and death, the rise and fall of nations. "You healed my daughter," the Emperor said. It was not a question. "Yes, sir," Danny said. His voice was steady, which surprised him. "How?" "I do not know, sir. I touched her, and it happened. I have never done anything like it before." The Emperor studied him for a long moment. Then he did something that shocked everyone in the room. He bowed his head slightly, a gesture of respect. "You have given me back my child," the Emperor said. "There is no gift in the universe that can repay such a thing. You have my eternal gratitude." Danny did not know what to say. A king was thanking him. An alien emperor was bowing to him. This was not something that happened to maintenance workers from Ohio. "You will come with us to the imperial homeworld," the Emperor continued. "You will be honored as a friend of the throne. Whatever you desire, within my power, shall be yours." Danny glanced at Captain Bennett. She gave him a small nod. "Thank you, sir," Danny said. "But I do not want rewards. I just want to understand what I did. If this ability is real, I want to know how it works." The Emperor smiled. It was a warm expression that made him look less frightening. "A humble request. My scientists will study you. Perhaps they can find answers." Then another figure stepped forward from the group of Valorians. He was younger than the Emperor, with a sharper face and colder eyes. His robes were silver and black. He looked at Danny with open distrust. "Father," he said, "we know nothing about these creatures. How can we trust them? For all we know, this is an elaborate trick. Perhaps they attacked the princess themselves and staged this healing to gain our favor." Princess Lyra's expression hardened. "Sorath, you are wrong. I was there. I felt his touch. It was real. You were dying, sister. Your mind was not clear. You cannot be certain of what you saw." This was Prince Sorath, Danny realized. The Crown Prince. And he clearly did not like humans. The Emperor raised his hand, and both his children fell silent. "Sorath raises a valid concern. We must be cautious. But I will not judge without evidence." He looked at Danny. "You claim you can heal with a touch. Very well, you will prove it." Danny felt his stomach tighten. "Prove it how?" "When we return to the homeworld, you will heal another. Someone who is dying, with many witnesses. If you succeed, your gift is real, and you will be honored. If you fail, we will know it was a trick." Prince Sorath smiled coldly. "And if it was a trick, father, what then?" The Emperor's voice was firm. "Then he will face the consequences. But I do not believe it was a trick. I see truth in his eyes." The human crew was invited aboard the Imperial warship. Danny had never seen anything so beautiful. The corridors were made of crystal that glowed with soft light. The floors seemed to flow like water beneath their feet. Everything was alive with technology that made human. Engineering looked like stone tools. Danny was given a private room bigger than his entire apartment back on Earth. The walls showed images of alien landscapes, forests of silver trees and oceans of liquid gold. A bed made of floating cushions waited for him, but he could not sleep. He stood by the window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere among them was Earth, his home, his old life. Princess Lyra came to see him that night. She entered quietly and stood beside him. "You are afraid," she said. "Yes," Danny admitted. "What if I cannot do it again?" What if your brother is right and I'm a fraud? Liara shook her head. You are not a fraud. I know what I felt. Your gift is real, but I do not know how to control it. The first time, it just happened. I was not trying to heal you. I was just trying to comfort you. Liara thought about this. Perhaps that is the secret. The Lumara was never a technique or a skill. It was always about the heart. The ancient priestesses healed because they loved. They gave part of themselves to save others. Danny looked at her. Are you saying I need to love the person I am healing? Not love exactly, but care, true compassion. You cannot fake that. It must come from within. Danny sighed. I am not sure I can do that on command, in front of a crowd. Liara reached out and took his hand. Then, do not think about the crowd. Do not think about my brother or my father or the test. Think only about the person in front of you. See their pain. Feel their suffering. And wish with all your heart to make it go away. She squeezed his hand gently. That is what you did for me. That is why I am alive. Danny looked into her golden eyes. He barely knew this alien princess, but he felt connected to her in a way he could not explain. Maybe that was the bond Voron had talked about. Or maybe it was something simpler. Thank you, he said. Liara smiled. Save your thanks. You have a trial ahead of you. Rest now. Tomorrow, we arrive at the homeworld, and everything will change. She left him alone with his thoughts. Danny lay down on the floating bed and closed his eyes. He thought about what she had said, about compassion, about giving part of yourself. He hoped he had enough to give, because if he failed, he had a feeling that Prince Sorath would be very happy, and that would not end well for any of them. The survivors were brought aboard the Horizon's Edge and placed in the medical bay. The crew gave them beds, water, and warmth. Most of them were still unconscious, but their vital signs were stable. They would live. The young female Danny had healed was awake. She sat on her bed, watching everything with careful golden eyes. She did not speak, perhaps because she knew the humans would not understand her. But she never stopped looking at Danny. Every time he entered the room, her eyes followed him. Danny did not know what to do. He had no explanation for what had happened. He had touched her, wished he could help, and somehow she had healed. It made no sense. He was just a maintenance worker. He fixed pipes and wires. He did not perform miracles. Captain Bennett ordered the crew to keep their distance from the aliens until they knew more. She was not cruel, but she was careful. These were unknown beings from an unknown civilization. Until they could communicate, anything could happen. The answer came 6 hours later, when one of the older aliens woke up. He was tall and thin, with deep lines on his silver face. His robes were violet, decorated with symbols that looked like writing. When he opened his eyes, he immediately looked around the room, checking on the others. When he saw the young female sitting up and healthy, his eyes went wide with shock. Megan Porter, the communications officer, had been working on a translation program. She brought a small device to the alien's bedside and showed him how it worked. He spoke a few words, and the device began to learn his language. Within an hour, they could have a basic conversation. His name was Voron. He was a high counselor to the royal family of the Valorian Empire. You must tell me, Voron said. His translated voice calm but intense. The princess. She was dying. Her wounds were fatal. How is she healed? Captain Bennett looked at Danny. Everyone looked at Danny. Danny stepped forward, feeling very small. I touched her, he said. I just wanted her to know she was not alone. And then there was this light, and she healed. I do not know how. Voron stared at him for a long moment. Then he stood up from his bed and walked to the young female. He spoke to her in their language. She answered, her voice soft. Voron's face changed. He looked amazed. He looked almost frightened. He turned back to Danny. You have done something that has not been done in 500 years. You have performed the Lumara. The what? Danny asked. The sacred healing light, Vorin explained. Long ago, our people had priestesses who could heal wounds with a touch. They were holy beings, blessed by the stars. But they died out centuries ago. No one has possessed this gift since. He paused. Until now. Until you. Danny shook his head. That is impossible. I am just a human. I am nobody special. Vorin studied him carefully. Perhaps your kind does not know what you are. Perhaps you have abilities you do not understand. He looked at the captain. Your species is unknown to us. Where do you come from? Earth, Captain Bennett said. A planet in the Sol system. We are called humans. Vorin repeated the words slowly. Humans. He seemed to be thinking hard. I must tell you something important. The female you healed is not just any Valorian. She is Princess Lyara, the only daughter of Emperor Kalen III. She is heir to an empire of 200 star systems. The room went silent. Danny felt his stomach drop. A princess, he said quietly. Yes, we were traveling in secret to negotiate a peace treaty with another empire. But we were attacked by raiders. They knew our route. They wanted to kill her. Vorin's voice was heavy with anger. They almost succeeded. Without you, she would be dead. Princess Lyara stood and walked across the room. She moved with grace, like water flowing over stones. She stopped in front of Danny and looked up at him. She was shorter than him by a few inches. Up close, he could see that her eyes had flecks of silver in the gold. She spoke, and the translation device rendered her words a moment later. You saved my life. I felt it. I felt your warmth enter me and push away the darkness. I was dying, and you brought me back. Danny did not know what to say. I just wanted to help. She smiled. It was a small smile, but it changed her whole face. She looked less like a distant royal and more like a real person. That is why it worked. The Lumara can only be given freely from one who truly wishes to heal. It cannot be forced or faked. Your heart called to mine, and I answered. Vorin stepped closer. His expression was troubled. There is something else you must know. Among our people, the Lumara creates a bond. When you healed her, you performed an ancient ritual, even if you did not know it. By our law, you are now connected to the princess for life. Danny blinked. Connected? What does that mean? It means, Princess Lyara said softly, that our souls have touched. In the old days, this bond was considered sacred. It was stronger than marriage. Those who shared it were partners in all things. Danny's face went pale. Wait, are you saying we are married? Not exactly, Vorin said quickly. But the bond is real. It cannot be broken. You will always feel connected to each other, no matter how far apart you are. He paused. The Emperor will want to know about this. He will want to meet you. Captain Bennett stepped forward. And what happens then? Danny is a member of my crew. He is under my protection. Vorin looked at her with respect. The Emperor is a fair man. He will reward the one who saved his daughter. But I cannot promise what will happen. The Empire has many laws and many traditions. This situation is unlike anything we have faced before. Over the next 2 days, the Valorian survivors recovered their strength. Vorin sent a message using a device from their damaged ship. The message would reach the Empire soon. Help was coming. During this time, Princess Lyara spent many hours talking with Danny. She asked about Earth, about his family, about his life. She seemed genuinely curious about everything. Danny found himself telling her things he had never told anyone. About his grandmother. About feeling ordinary his whole life. about hoping to find something meaningful in the stars. Liara listened to every word. She did not judge or interrupt. When he finished, she said, "You call yourself ordinary, but I have met many people in my life. Kings and warriors and great thinkers. None of them have done what you did. None of them have the gift that you carry. I still do not understand it," Danny admitted. "Perhaps you do not need to understand it," Liara said. "Perhaps you only need to accept it. You have the power to heal. That is a beautiful thing." Danny looked at his hands. They still looked normal. What if I cannot do it again? Liara reached out and took his hand in hers. Her skin was cool and smooth. "Then you will still be the man who saved me. That is enough." Danny felt warmth spread through him at her touch. It was not the golden light from before. It was something simpler, something human. For the first time since this all began, he felt like maybe things would be okay. But he was wrong. Because on the fourth day, an Imperial warship arrived. And Danny's life was about to become far more complicated than he could ever imagine. The Imperial homeworld was called Valoria Prime. Danny saw it through the window as the warship approached. It was a beautiful planet with silver oceans and continents covered in glowing cities. 3 moons hung in the sky, each one covered in lights that showed they were inhabited too. The ship landed in the capital city, a place called Sauron. Buildings rose like mountains of crystal and light. Millions of Valorians walked the streets below, going about their daily lives. Not knowing that a human was about to change their history, Danny was dressed in new clothes. Simple but elegant robes that the Valorians had provided. Captain Bennett and her crew were given rooms in the palace and treated as guests. But everyone knew the truth. They were prisoners until Danny proved himself. The throne room was enormous. It could have held 1,000 people, and today it did. Nobles, scientists, priests, and officials filled the galleries. They had come to see the strange alien who claimed to possess the Lu Mara. Danny stood in the center of the room, feeling very small. The Emperor sat on his floating throne, watching with calm patience. The Empress, a regal female with kind eyes, sat beside him. Princess Liara stood to the left, her face tense with worry. Prince Sorath stood to the right, smiling with cruel satisfaction. "Bring the subject," the Emperor commanded. 2 guards carried in a stretcher. On it lay a Valorian male, young and thin. His silver skin was pale and gray. His eyes were closed, and his breathing was shallow. He looked like he was already dead. A court physician stepped forward. "This is Tarek, a soldier wounded in battle 3 weeks ago. His internal organs are failing. He has perhaps 1 hour to live. Our medicine cannot save him." Prince Sorath looked at Danny. "While human? Here is your chance. Save him, if you can." Danny walked toward the stretcher. His legs felt weak. His heart was pounding so hard he could hear it in his ears. Hundreds of eyes watched him. If he failed, he would be exposed as a fraud. He might be executed. His crew might be killed, but he pushed those thoughts away. He remembered what Liara had told him. Do not think about the crowd. Think only about the person in front of you. He looked at Tarek, really looked at him. This was a young man, probably only a few years older than Danny. He had a family somewhere, people who loved him and wanted him to come home. He had dreams and hopes that would never happen if he died today. Danny knelt beside the stretcher. He placed both hands on Tarek's chest over his heart. He closed his eyes. He thought about his grandmother, how she had smiled at him even when she was dying, how she had told him that he was special, that he would do great things someday. He had never believed her. He had always felt ordinary, but maybe she had been right. Maybe this was what he was meant to do. Danny focused on the dying soldier beneath his hands. He imagined the pain Tarek must be feeling, the fear of death, the loneliness of fading away in front of strangers. He wished, with everything he had, that he could take that pain away. Please, he thought. Please, let this work. Let me save him. For 5 seconds, nothing happened. Prince Sorath laughed. You see? He is a fraud. I told you, father. This was all a trick. But then, Danny felt it. A warmth building in his chest. It spread through his arms, down to his hands. His palms began to glow with golden light. The crowd gasped. The light grew brighter, filling the throne room like sunrise. Tarek's body began to tremble. His back arched off the stretcher. The blue markings on his skin flared to life, glowing with intense brightness. Danny could feel something flowing out of him. It was like pouring water from a cup. The warmth left his body and entered Tarek's. He felt tired, so tired, like he had run 100 miles without rest. But he did not let go. He kept his hands in place and kept giving everything he had. Inside Tarek's body, the damage was being repaired. Torn organs were mending. Internal bleeding stopped. Cells that were dying came back to life. It was happening faster than any medicine could work, faster than nature allowed. After 30 seconds, Danny pulled his hands away. The golden light faded. He fell backward and sat on the floor, exhausted. His whole body was shaking. He felt empty inside, like something important had been taken from him. But Tarek was breathing. His color was returning. His eyes opened and he looked around in confusion. What happened? The soldier asked weakly. I was dying. I remember dying. The physician rushed forward and examined him. His hands moved over Tarek's body with growing shock on his face. He is healed. Completely healed. There is no internal damage at all. This is impossible. The throne room erupted in chaos. Some people fell to their knees. Others cried out in amazement. A few backed away in fear. Prince Sorath's smile was gone, replaced by a look of disbelief and anger. Emperor Kalen rose from his throne and walked down to where Danny sat. He looked at the human with wonder in his eyes. The Lumara is real, the Emperor said, loud enough for everyone to hear. This human possesses the sacred gift. He is blessed by the stars themselves. He reached down and took Danny's hand, helping him stand. From this day forward, Danny Cole is an honored guest of the Empire. He shall be given a place in the palace, servants to attend him, and the gratitude of my family. No harm shall come to him as long as I live. The crowd cheered, but Danny barely heard them. He was too tired to stand. Captain Bennett rushed forward and caught him before he fell. Easy, Danny, she said. You did it. You proved yourself. Danny nodded weakly. I did it, he whispered. But it took something out of me. I feel so empty. Princess Lyara appeared beside him. Her face was filled with concern. She touched his forehead and frowned. He is weakened. The Lumara is not free. It takes a toll on the healer. Vorn, who had been watching from the side, nodded gravely. That is what the old texts say. The ancient priestesses could heal many wounds, but each healing shortened their own lives. The gift is both a blessing and a curse. Danny's heart sank. Are you saying this power is killing me? Not killing, Vorn said carefully, but draining. Each time you use it, you give part of your life force to another. If you use it too much, too often, you will weaken and eventually fade. Prince Sorath stepped forward, his voice sharp. Then he should be kept away from our people. He is dangerous. What if everyone in the Empire comes to him seeking healing? He will drain himself dry, and we will be blamed for his death. The Emperor held up his hand. Enough, Sorath. This is a matter for careful consideration, not hasty judgment. He looked at Danny with sympathy. You have given much today. Rest now. We will speak more when you have recovered. Danny was taken to his rooms in the palace. Liara came with him, refusing to leave his side. She helped him into bed and sat beside him. "I am sorry," she said. "I should have warned you. I knew the Lumara had a price. I just did not know how heavy it would be." Danny looked at her tired face. "You knew and you did not tell me?" "I was afraid. Afraid that if you knew, you would not try. And then everyone would think you were a fraud. My brother would have had you killed." Danny closed his eyes. He was too tired to be angry. It worked. That is what matters. But I need to understand this power better. I need to know my limits. Liara took his hand. "We will learn together. I promise. Whatever happens, you will not face it alone." Danny held her hand and let himself drift towards sleep. He had proven himself. He was safe, for now. But he knew that his problems were just beginning. Word of his healing would spread. People would come from across the empire seeking his touch. And he could not save them all without destroying himself. He had been given a gift. But that gift might also be his death sentence. 3 weeks passed. Danny healed dozens of people during that time. Children with deadly diseases. Soldiers wounded in distant wars. Nobles who had been poisoned by their enemies. Each time, the golden light came. Each time, someone who was dying was given a second chance at life. And each time, Danny grew weaker. He hid it well. He wore long robes to cover his thin arms. He smiled and spoke kindly to everyone who came to see him. But Liara knew the truth. She saw him collapse in his room after each healing. She watched him sleep for hours and wake up still tired. "You cannot keep doing this," she told him one evening. They were sitting in the palace gardens, surrounded by silver trees that sang when the wind blew through them. "You are killing yourself." Danny looked at his hands. The skin was pale now, almost gray. "What choice do I have? They bring me dying children. How can I say no? By remembering that you are mortal. By understanding that if you die, you cannot help anyone at all." Danny shook his head. "Every time I refuse, someone dies. I see their faces in my dreams. I hear their families crying. I cannot live with that." Liara took his hands in hers. Her golden eyes were filled with tears. "Then let me help you. Let me share the burden. You cannot heal. Only I can. But I can protect you. I can make sure fewer people come to you. I can limit the number of healings you perform." Danny smiled sadly. "Your brother would love that. It would prove that I am weak, that humans are not worth the Empire's attention." Lyra's expression hardened. "My brother is a fool. And he is more dangerous than you know." She told Danny what she had learned. Prince Sorath was not just jealous. He was afraid. He saw Danny as a threat to his power. If a human could perform miracles, then humans would become important allies. Earth would gain protection and influence. And Sorath's position as the next emperor would be weakened. So Sorath had made a secret deal. He had contacted enemies of the Empire, offering them information in exchange for one thing: Danny's death. "Assassins are coming," Liara said. "They will be here within days. My father does not know. Sorath has hidden his betrayal well." Danny felt cold fear in his chest. "What can we do?" "We must tell my father. But we need proof. Without evidence, Sorath will deny everything. And we will look like liars." That night, Danny and Liara went to Vorin. The old counselor listened to their fears and nodded slowly. "I have suspected the prince for some time," Vorin said. "He is ambitious and cruel. But I have no proof either." He thought for a moment. "There may be a way. The prince communicates with his allies through a private channel. If we can access it, we can show the emperor the truth." It took 2 days to gather the evidence. Vorin used his connections to find the channel. Liara used her access to the palace systems to record the messages. Danny waited, growing weaker by the hour, but refusing to stop healing those who came to him. On the third day, they had what they needed. Recorded messages showing Soreth negotiating with enemy agents. Plans to kill Danny and blame it on human assassins, creating a reason for the Empire to attack Earth. They brought the evidence to Emperor Kalen in a private audience. The Emperor listened in silence. His face showed no emotion as the recordings played. But when they finished, his hands were shaking. "My own son," the Emperor said quietly. "My heir. He would betray his family, his empire, for jealousy and fear. What will you do, father?" Liara asked. The Emperor stood and walked to the window. He looked out at his glowing city, his vast empire, built over centuries of careful rule. He will be arrested. He will face trial. And when he's found guilty, he will be exiled to the outer moons, where he can harm no one. It happened quickly. Soreth was seized in his chambers before he could escape. He screamed and cursed, calling Danny a demon and a threat to all Valorians. But the guards ignored him. The evidence was clear. The prince was a traitor, with the immediate threat gone. Danny finally allowed himself to rest. He slept for 2 full days. When he woke, he felt better, but he knew he was still weakened. He had given too much of himself too quickly. Liara came to see him with good news. The Imperial scientists had finished their study of human biology. Their findings were remarkable. "All humans carry the Lumara," she explained. "It is part of your nature. Your planet is rich in certain minerals and energies that give your species this potential. Most humans never access it because they do not know it exists. But under the right conditions, with strong enough emotion, any human could heal as you do." Danny sat up slowly. "Any human? You mean everyone on Earth could be a healer?" "Potentially, yes. Though it would take training and practice to control the ability." This changed everything. Danny was no longer unique. He was just the first. If humanity understood what they could do, they could become one of the most valuable species in the galaxy. But Danny also saw the danger. If other civilizations learned about this, humans would be hunted, enslaved, used as healing tools until they burned out and died. He could not let that happen. He requested a private meeting with Emperor Kalen. The Emperor received him in his personal chambers, a simple room compared to the Grand Throne Room. Here, the ruler of 200 star systems looked like an ordinary father, tired and sad after the betrayal of his son. "You have done much for my family," the Emperor said. "Ask anything, and I will try to grant it." Danny spoke carefully. "The scientists have discovered that all humans have the potential for healing. This is valuable knowledge, but it is also dangerous. If word spreads, my people will be in great danger." The Emperor nodded. "I understand your fear. What do you propose?" "A treaty," Danny said. "A formal alliance between the Valorian Empire and Earth. In exchange for your protection, humans who wish to heal may come to the Empire as volunteers. But no human shall ever be forced to use this power. It must always be a choice, freely given." The Emperor considered this. "And what of you? Will you stay here?" Danny looked out the window at the alien sky. He thought about Earth, so far away. He thought about his small apartment and his ordinary life. Then he thought about Liara and the bond they shared and the good he could still do. "I will stay," he said, "as a teacher and a liaison between our peoples. I will help humans who come here understand their gift. And I will continue to heal when I can, but carefully within my limits." The Emperor smiled. "You are wise for one so young. I accept your proposal. Earth shall be under imperial protection. No other empire shall threaten your world. And the treaty shall bear your name." The news spread quickly. A formal message was sent to Earth, carried by the fastest ship in the fleet. Humanity had been discovered by one of the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy. And instead of conquest, they were being offered friendship. 2 months later, the first human diplomatic ship arrived at Valoria Prime. Captain Bennett had returned to Earth and come back with a delegation of leaders and scientists. They were amazed by everything they saw, but most of all, they were amazed by Danny. The maintenance worker from Ohio had become an ambassador, a healer, a bridge between worlds. Danny stood on the balcony of the palace as the human ship landed. Liara stood beside him, her hand in his. The twin suns of Valoria were setting, painting the sky in shades of gold and purple. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. "Leaving your home? Becoming all of this?" Danny watched the ship's doors open. He saw Captain Bennett step out, her face full of pride. He saw the future stretching out before him, full of challenges and wonders he could not imagine. "No," he said softly. "I spent my whole life feeling invisible, like I did not matter. Now I understand that even the smallest act of kindness can change the fate of worlds." He squeezed Lyra's hand. "I do not regret a single thing." The human delegation walked toward the palace, carrying messages of hope from a planet that had just learned its place in the universe. And it had all started with one man, one touch, and the courage to care for a stranger. The stars watched in silence. A new chapter in galactic history was beginning. And humanity was finally ready to take its place among them.